Hey guys, welcome back to Don't Forget the Art. I am here to do our faux stained glass painting project. And what you're going to see here are many of the materials that I am going to use in order to create this stained glass project. What's the one thing that looks like it's missing? Well, stained glass, of course, but we're not going to use stained glass for this one. In this case, we are going to use some pretty common materials that you will find around the house. The one thing I will say that I do not have here on the table is a picture frame, which I know I have an extra around here. Yep, here's one. So all of these things that you see here are objects that I used in order to create this project, okay? Many of them you already have around the house or are pretty inexpensive to get, okay? So let me go through what I have, okay? I have wax paper. I have construction paper. That is for some of our simpler projects. Some crayons. You're also going to want, if you do the one with the crayons, that's coming up, you're going to want to get a grater. Now this is one that has, seen better days, and so I have pulled it for my arts and crafts project, as well as some other things that I do with it, lotion making and whatnot. So that is that. I mean, most of the crayons that I'm using here say they're non-toxic, but still, if you have something old that you're not using, or you find something cheap at the garage sale, Dollar Tree has stuff like that, you're going to probably want to use the smaller grating on it. Let's see, for the second one, you will need, I used a plastic sheet, but I will recommend a thicker piece of plastic. I have these around my house, though. Some of these, protective page protectors. So I would recommend that. And Sharpies. I forgot to bring my Sharpies back out here. I accidentally put them away. Usually it takes me a while to put my stuff away. And then for the last one, you're going to need a picture frame, puffy glue, some clear glue, toothpicks, and I would recommend maybe a round brush, something to kind of get into the spaces. But again, little kids' brushes and things like that are good. So I am going to show you the fast forward versions of my projects. Hopefully you like them. And it'll give you some ideas of things that you can do to celebrate stained glass. Now, stained glass, I can remember even since I was a little kid in my churches, there would be some of these stained glasses that were just huge, enormous. And, I might not remember all the sermons that were preached at my church when I was a kid, but I can remember vividly the very, very beautiful stained glass that was in the church that I went to. And over the years we've gone to different cathedrals and things like that. Stained glass, while it did start years ago, was used a lot in churches and cathedrals, especially in medieval times, as they started getting bigger cathedrals. The stained glass would let the light in and show the pictures at the same time, and has obviously not gone away. It's continued over the years. And so, while I would love to do a real stained glass project, that might be in the works, who knows, I just figured these would give you, I have like 3 or 4 ideas of some projects that you can do with your kids, all ages, that are lots and lots of fun. We got holidays coming up, so you'll see some holiday themed in there. We're also in fall right now, so you'll also see that kind of running through. Whatever it is that you do, I hope you enjoy it. Please post the pictures on our page. I would love to see the projects that you do. And in the meantime, here you go. Let me show you the project ideas. All right, so the first project may wind up being the simplest. This is a page protector.
You may use them for, different things around the house or your portfolios or things like that. I would recommend maybe a thicker piece of plastic than this, but this did work. And I am using, on the back of it, you'll see I have taped a outline of a leaf. I simply Google searched images of stained glass projects, probably for leaves, and found this, and nice and big and sections. I use the puffy paint to outline it. I then let it dry. You're obviously not seeing that because I merged everything together. So if you're going to do this project, if you're going to do it in one day, I would say maybe do the outline of it first and put it to the side, and then let that part dry. Do your schoolwork and then come back to it, or separate it out into 2 days. Do one day, do the outline, and then come back and do it. It really didn't take that long to dry. But again, depending upon how long how long will take is how dry it is in your house. I then used Sharpie markers. Now the first ones that you see me using, the orange and the yellow, those were the same ones that I did in the stippling drawings, and they were pretty thin. I would recommend the thicker ones like I'm using here. This is a gold or bronze. And color it in. Now the markers didn't actually take all of that long to dry. I was kind of surprised, pleasantly surprised. The plastic, however, as you can see, I did have a little bit of a tough time cutting it out. Make sure you've got a decent pair of scissors. And the thinner plastic, again, may not work as well as the thicker plastic, but I got through it. I love the way that this turned out though, because, if you tape it up to the windows, this will certainly be an awesome kind of sun catcher that will shine through. And you don't have to do a leaf. You can do anything, that you want. This here, I found I did a Christmas ornament. I found some ornaments online, the outline for it, and then using some of those outline tricks, like I've showed you before, by on the back of the hard copy, using the graphite pencil to kind of shade it in, and then kind of using that as your carbon copy to then transfer it over onto the construction paper that I'm using here. I created the outline. I did it in Sharpie so that you could see it a little bit better. I folded it over, so I did an automatic 2 at a time, because you're going to need one for the front, one for the back. And so the best way to do that is to fold it over in half and cut the 2 out together, so that you can make sure you get a good fit. If you've got younger kids, that might not be as easy, but worth a shot. Now I'm using plain wax paper and crayon and my old uh, um, shaver there, the grater, to get the gratings. Now I'm using the small section, as you can see here. The biggest thing that I would say with the crayons is, as you're doing it, you're seeing me use white and blue here, which I love for the winter colors. I would use colors that are going to be in the same relatively close to each other. So here I did blue and white. For the other one that I'm doing here, I did shades of red. You're going to want to make sure that it fits. Iron that, out. And as you could see, I used towel so that you can you just make sure that everything is safe. I did it on an ironing board, not on this board here. But when it spreads out, you can usually get 2 out of here. And then just try to figure out what would look really nice. And again, this makes a really pretty sun catcher as the sun comes through the windows on through there. I'm using plain school glue, clear glue, to glue these together front and back. And then I did go through with Sharpie and outline that. You could use a black or a darker color. For here, I'm using, I actually did this one first to make sure everything would turn out okay. This is a red bell that I'm using. As you saw that I put the outline on there and traced around it, when I cut it out, I actually cut just on the inside of that outline, so that the bell is just on the inside of the outside of that. And those make some fabulous little sun catchers as well. And I love that it uses up my bin of crayons that is sometimes gets to the overflowing point. Can't take credit for this one. This one, that project with the crayons I found years ago on a craft show that I used to enjoy watching. And thankfully, I have not forgotten about it. Now, as you can see here, I am doing probably the more complicated of the three projects that I'm showing you here. Oh, on the crayon one, if you don't have crayons or don't want to use the crayons, you can also use tissue paper. That will work fabulously. All right, so the last of the three projects, I cannot take credit for this one either. I actually was introduced to this idea through another homeschool mama who had us do this project at her house with her. It was lots of fun, and I found it a few different places on the internet and thought it would be a lot of fun for you to do. Different ways of doing it. This is the easiest that I have found. And so I'm using that puffy paint to outline my coloring sheet. And that's right, all I did was Google search coloring sheets for this project. It's going to be the easiest. Now, this is a 5x7, so it's going to take a little bit longer because the spaces are there, and this is kind of a little bit more detailed than I should have gone. I would have definitely gone with a simpler, or would definitely go for a simpler project with my kiddos. But I wanted to do Jack Skellington. I love Nightmare Before Christmas came out when I was in high school, and it was just one of my favorite movies. Don't judge. And so I thought I would do it, figured it would give a little decoration around my house this time of year. Again, this is going to be one of the more time-consuming parts, going through and outlining everything, especially depending upon how detailed the coloring sheet that you are doing takes. So you're going to want to go through and do this, let it dry completely, and then you can go through and start painting. Now with the painting, you're going to use a clear Elmer's washable glue and a little dab of paint. Doesn't matter what kind of paint, craft paint will work just fine. The palette that I got for this was like 97 cents at Walmart. Toothpicks I had lying around the house. Now the paint I had, but if you need to get that, again, you can get the 50-cent paints, craft paints over at Walmart. They will work just fine. And you could even go with primary colors because of course you will be able to mix those and get the colors that you want or need. However, you can get all the different colors and the shades that you want so that your picture will look fabulous. I decided to, because I tend to stick my hand in paint, I did the best I could to start on the inside and work out, although I kind of went through and did the bones on the outside, so I don't know, it doesn't really count. Everything in my house is kind of starting to dry out, so paints are not taking all that long to dry, and the school glue I think probably helps with that as well, actually, with the drying process. So the other cool thing about the coloring sheets, especially if you're doing little kids coloring sheets, most of those tend to be in primary colors anyway, so hopefully you don't have to go hog wild going crazy with the different colors. But nevertheless, you're just going to want to go through, figure out which colors that you have. Mine, as you can see, my coloring sheet is still taped to the opposite side. However, you may want to have that, kind of to the side so you can kind of see what you're looking at. The other thing you want to remember is that the back side of this picture is not going to matter as much. What you're going to see is the other side of it. So, that's more important than what you're seeing on the back side. So don't get too concerned. It is going to look a little messy depending upon how transparent or translucent you want this to be. Or if you want it more opaque, you can go through with a couple layers of your colors too. Now, if you just caught it, I went through with my black paint as I am painting in now the background scene, I put in the cat and the spider that I couldn't get with the puffy paint, and that's another thing that you may want to try too. If you have little details, go through with black paint and that'll be just fine. This color blue that I'm using here is a phthalo blue. It gives a great background for a night sky. So, you know, if you're doing a night sky, phthalo blue is a good color to try. Um, Other than that, I mean, I would recommend trying this one. It is a lot of fun, and definitely something worth trying with your kiddos. And hopefully it winds up being a project that you guys all really enjoy.
So if you wound up watching the Jack Skellington faux stained glass that I did, where I used the clear glue, but maybe you don't want to use the glue, this is a second option that you can use. I did this with my kids a couple years ago over the summer for a Beauty and the Beast day that we did at a fun summer camp that we had at our house. Um, and I'll let you know that this we did not use the clear glue with. We only used acrylics. So this is glass. This is from Dollar Tree. And again, if I didn't mention it before, I will let you know. These picture frames in the glass from Dollar Tree are great. Obviously, they're pretty cheap. But just know that the glass is thinner, and it also tends to be a little bit sharper on the edges. So I did this the same way as I did the other, where I put the image on the underside. I used the puffy glue or black glue or whatever you have, and made the outlines that you see here. And then I used some sponges in order to make the different colors that you see there. So they are kind of little spouncers, little poofs, and I used, like for the background, I used like pink and white. This I used like two different shades of blue, and you kind of twist it back and forth as you're doing it. Same thing with the green. Just let it dry, and you can get a really good result with this too. So that is the second option to this one. This is my Jack Skellington all finished. It means so cute. This is my leaf. Okay, the only thing I would suggest with this one, I would not use the thin Sharpies that you saw me use here. I would get the thicker Sharpies. I'd also, I mean, this would work nice for kind of taping up on the window, but chances are a thicker kind of plastic would probably work better. Definitely for cutting. As you could probably see, I had a little bit of an issue cutting. And then this is the crayon um, uh, faux stained glass here, the melted crayon shavings. Again, you could do the same thing with the outside with construction paper, and instead of using the crayons and wax paper, you could use tissue paper. All right, so lots of different options, and of course there's always also the option of doing some actual stained glass, which is lots of fun too. Um, and maybe if I get adventurous with my boys over the holiday season, I'll pick up some stained glass and try doing some ornament pieces. If I do, I will certainly post it here as a fun way to create something awesome. But whatever it is that you choose, and I know there's many different options, even more than this, out on the websites and the internet out there. These are just a few different ideas. Something fun to do. Again, stained glass is absolutely beautiful, and hopefully it'll be something that you'll try to make yourself. Happy arting, everyone. Take care.